Hi everybody, I am back to get to some of the questions that you have asked me that are in my inbox. Now usually, especially when it's been a while and they've built up, I usually start at the oldest questions first to get to them first, kind of as a chronological thing, right? The first ones that come in, I'll do those first and then work toward the newer ones. In this case though, I'm going to start with the newer ones because we just had the first episode of Dead City Season 2 air, and I know that we have some Dead City questions in my inbox. And I want to get to them before the second episode airs, okay? But I will get to all of them. I promise I'm going to get caught up. I don't know if I'll get completely caught up before episode 2 airs this Sunday, but if not, then by the time episode 3 airs, I will get to all of them. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. What do we got here? Obadiah 2, I don't know if I'm saying that right, sorry. Have you seen the new teaser for Daryl Dixon 3? Daryl says, you know, I was pretty young when all this started. Is that finally confirming that the character of Daryl is meant to be younger than most people seem to think he is? I never thought the character was early 40s in season 1, which seems to be the common narrative these days. I always thought he was meant to be mid to late 20s. Thoughts, which would put the character early to mid-40s now, which although Norman looks older than that, I can headcanon it as Daryl has had a really hard life at this point and aged prematurely. They also show tons of desert scenes, which already has me thinking desert equals drought equals fire, so we will be getting some Beth water symbolism, and maybe they cut his hallucination dialogue about Merle, Glenn, and Beth in season 2 because he'll be hallucinating out in the desert in season 3 alone. Don't know, but it's possible. Yeah, I actually really like that. Okay, so let's address all the parts of this, right? It does seem to be hinting, at least, about his age. I don't know if they'll actually come out and say an age. That would be nice if they would. But yeah, it definitely does seem to suggest that he is younger than people want to say. I can tell you that, yeah, I mean, as you get older, something that you once thought was old becomes young to you. So, you know, of course, if he's in his 40s now, then 30 even was young to him. But even so, I don't think you have very many people looking back and saying, I was a young person when they're talking about 40 years old, right? So what I mean is, to put it a little bit more succinctly, to a 70-year-old, 40 is young, of course. But at the same time, even a 70-year-old doesn't talk about themselves as like a young man or a young woman when they were in their 40s. You know what I mean? They will just say, I was younger than I am now. So yeah, I mean, to say I was really young, I would think that would almost be, yeah, younger than 30, I would think. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going for that he's younger than 30. I'm just saying the way that he's saying it suggests that he's younger than what people believe, like you say, that he was younger than Norman was in real life when he, you know, started in season 1. So yeah, definitely, I think that they are hinting at that. I hope they talk about it a little bit more. The other thing that suddenly occurred to me, I did watch the new teaser, and then there's the old teaser that we got end of last year. And it's in that one when him and Carol are talking, and you hear the voiceover and he says, I thought it was all over. You know, I thought it was going to quit and it was going to end. And she said, you and me both, right? I'm pretty sure that they are talking about that time in the cave, or in the tunnel, I guess I should say, at the end of the finale of season 2. Like, I think that's what they're talking about. They're telling each other about their experiences. And so that was when he almost died, but he saw Isabel, right? He hallucinated Isabel. And then when she hallucinated Sophia, I think they're talking about that right there. And that's why he's saying for a minute, I really thought I was going to die. I thought it was all over. And she said, yeah, you and me both. So I mean, I could be wrong about that, but it suddenly occurred to me that that's probably what they're talking about. So I like that they're talking about this, and we keep saying that we want him to talk about Beth, and, you know, granted, if they're talking about what happened there, it's not going to be about Beth, but I mean, symbolically it could be. And if they are talking about things, hopefully they'll talk about other things too. So it would be nice for them to talk about how old they were. I really hope so. But yeah, I agree. I think that was probably the first thing that jumped out at most of us, is that they aren't actually putting an age to him, but they're hinting at it, right? And so that's really important. So we had first them coming out and saying that Carol was never going to be a thing, which was great. All this symbolism, of course, that we've seen, that we think Beth is real close now and is coming. And now they're hinting that maybe he was pretty young in season 1. So that all seems to be working together really well. All right. The desert scenes. Yeah, I'm liking the desert scenes for a couple of reasons. One is, you remember in 510, which was them, that was the one where the music box woke up, there was a big drought, right? And it was like there was the drought, and then there was the storm, and then the music box woke up. So I don't know for sure if this is what they're going for, but if we are following that symbolism, then we're looking at him being in the drought. Hopefully by the end of the season, at some point the storm will hit, and then hopefully Beth will show up, symbolized by the music box waking up. So that's kind of what I saw there, but you're also right about the Beth, water, fire symbolism that we always talk about. One other thing that I wanted to mention here too, and I might have another ask about it in my inbox, I'll have to see when I get there, but there's a shot of two skeletons, and it's like an aerial view that's in the trailer, right? And they're laid out much like Beth and Daryl laying in the grass in Inmates, and much like in Always Accountable when Daryl wrecked his motorcycle and was lying next to the walker on the ground. So it's that side-by-side symbolism. I mean, we saw it real early in season 4. We saw it with Karen and David after Carol killed them, and we saw it... we've seen it a lot. Okay, we actually did see it back in season 2 very, very briefly, but we saw it in season 5 again with the W walkers right after the group got to Alexandria. I mean, it's been very, very prevalent, and we're seeing it again. So creds to WD Wave for first noticing that. And the other thing that's great is that when the shot, it's like a 2-second shot in the trailer where you can see the skeletons, and like I said, it's an aerial shot looking down at them and someone's walking past them. I'm like 99% sure that's Daryl, because it also shows him walking through the desert looking very parched, and he's got, his, whatever it is, his jacket or whatever wrapped around his head to protect him from the sun. And if you look carefully, you can see that the person walking past the two skeletons is Daryl in that same, like he's got the thing over his head and he's kind of staggering through the desert. So my point is that really does lend itself to he's going to find himself in a place where he doesn't have water, and he's trying to find shelter and get out of the sun, and things are not going well for him. So that is very close to, what was going on in 510. And also, to your point, maybe he'll be hallucinating at this, at this point. So that would be really cool. And I think it's really interesting that as he's in the desert walking around, staggering around, that's when he sees the side-by-side thing. Just really interesting. I'm excited to see what the context for that scene in the episode is. And then, I really like the idea, like I said before, of them cutting out the hallucination dialogue because they're going to put it in this season and they're just bumping it. That would be cool. I would love it if we still heard that somewhere. So I hope you're right, and fingers crossed that you will be. So thank you for sending that in. Very exciting. Hi, dying to get your take on the new Daryl Dixon Season 3 trailer, especially the dramatic look on Daryl's face when he sees someone or something. And also the end frame. There seems to be quite a lot of symbolism at work. Lastly, the rule of threes. Is Season 3 going to be the season? I hear you. So, I mean, in terms of the look on his face, I mean, there's absolutely no way to know what he's looking at. So let's hope it's something good, but I don't know. It also could be something shocking, like they see the ruins of something. I noticed that they did this in actually the first season of Dead City. Like they have them all staring at the city like really, really wide-eyed and shocked and everything, just because it looks so crazy when it's all, zombified and all of that. But other than that, there's really no way to know what he's looking at. So I don't know that I really have a whole lot to say about that. The end frame... Can you tell me what exactly... Oh, you mean so the artwork. Sorry, I wasn't reading all of that. But you're right. In that final shot, it's a little bit shadowed, so it's a little bit hard to see, but there's a broken down church with a bell, and there's a clock on one side of it. So you're right. There's definitely some interesting symbolism going on there. And as we know, the church and the clock are both very, very heavy Beth symbols. So I hope that is... maybe a hint at what we're going to be seeing in the season. Let me also say one thing that I think is really cool from the trailer too, is there seems to be some sort of motorcycle duel going on, like him and another guy going directly at each other, like they're gonna have a frontal impact crash, and they both have guns and they like fire as they go past each other. So it's almost like a medieval duel, except on motorcycles with guns. I think that's super cool. So I hope Season 3 is going to be the one. I'm really, really hoping, and I think that we have a lot of reason to hope that it will be. So yeah, sorry I don't have any really more to say about those specific parts, but until we get a little more context, I mean, it could be absolutely anything. Okay, next one. Hi there, I'm a big fan of your posts and theories, so big thanks first and foremost. You're welcome. This is my first time reaching out, so please forgive the rookie approach. I was wondering if you noticed Maggie yelling at the marshal about the guinea pig situation in Dead City 201. And then shortly after that, the scene Negan was in the meeting with the Dama and the Croat, and it showed the Dama walk over and put on a record. It reminded me of Beth and Edwards in season 5 when she brings him his food, and he specifically tells her he's eating guinea pig and proceeds to give her a bite. This is after she chooses not to eat anything because she doesn't want to owe them anything. Right after that, they're talking about records and art. I just wondered if there's any tie-in to that last scene with Dama and the maze with the mouse. Just thinking back on Edwards, he was also very manipulative to get what he needed to stay alive. Felt like a parallel, but not 100%. Anyway, thanks for your insight. Yeah, I definitely think that this could be a parallel. When I did my analysis of Dead City 201, I focused more on the marshal and everything, and a few other things. But yeah, I definitely think that there could be a parallel going on here. I mean, that did occur to me. I don't think I actually said it in my analysis that Negan is kind of a Beth proxy here from Grady. He is in a cage. He is being held prisoner. We have the guard who played the violin for him. So there's a musical element going on there. There's the record that the Dama played. Yes, I did notice the record. And yeah, I mean, the fact that they're like eating rodents, vermin, I mean, it's hard not to compare that to Beth in season 5, right? So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's a great observation, and I think you're right. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it moving forward. I'm interested to see what they do with Negan moving forward. This isn't something that comes from the show, but I always had kind of a headcanon about someone, you know, wherever Beth is, whoever's got her, making her do things that maybe she, not like really bad things or anything, but that she wouldn't have otherwise wanted to do. And that's kind of like getting on a stage, putting on a show, working for them, maybe tracking for them, hunting for them, but like she wouldn't otherwise do it except that they're holding something over her head. And then that's exactly what happened with Negan here. They're holding the fact that they have his family over his head, which I'm not entirely convinced that they actually do have his family. Maybe they do, and they will show up later in the season. If I were Negan, I would be a little bit skeptical of that. I would want them to prove that they have my family before I did anything for them. But anyway, the point is that they're wanting him to go back to his old self and be the old Negan, and he probably wouldn't have done that other than the fact that they're making him, right? And like I said, that has nothing to do with anything that happened with Beth in the show before. It's more of a headcanon of mine. But there were definitely indications that Negan is kind of a Beth proxy here. Just the fact that he's in an alien world, he's being held by, you know, people who you could say were his enemies because they're holding him hostage and he doesn't really want to be there. And then even just the fact that he was eating cockroaches. No, that's not the same thing as guinea pigs, but the point is they're not exactly eating normal gourmet meals, right? So yeah, I really like that observation. I think it is a parallel for sure. I kind of see the Dama more as Dawn, and I don't know, maybe the Croat as Edwards a little bit in this analogy, but I'm also sure that it's not just a one-to-one thing. It's probably somewhat fluid. So yeah, great observations, and thanks for sending that in. Do we actually have any hardcore evidence that Beth is going to return in season 3, or are we all living on hopes and prayers? LMAO. I've been feeling anxious about it after the end of season 2. I'm never going to stop holding out hope that she's coming back until we see her 6 feet under, but the show certainly likes to make us wait. Yeah, well, I guess it depends on how you define hardcore evidence. Do we have any, like, proof or confirmation from anyone close to the show? No, I mean, of course not. But we do have a lot of symbolism, and the hard thing is that we don't know how many seasons Daryl Dixon is going to go. And so what I always come back to as the closest thing to, you know, you can't really call it proof, but evidence, I guess, is the fact that it's really obvious that they're doing the spinoff so that he finds his soulmate, okay? The evidence for that is in what Judith told him at the end of the flagship show, you deserve a happy ending too. And she's specifically talking about a romantic happy ending. And then we hear that, like a voiceover of her saying that in the first episode of Daryl Dixon 1. And again, that's just the writers telling us what the theme for the entire show is. This show is going to be his journey to find his happy ending, right? So even that in and of itself doesn't prove that it's going to be Beth, but it proves that he's going to find that happy ending. And for me, I mean, number one, if they really do put him with somebody else and it's not Beth, then at that point, you know, I can say, all right, well, doesn't look like we're going to see her. But until they do, I'm holding out hope because we have all this evidence, right? And all the symbolism. But the other thing is that, and other people have said this too, do we really think that they are going to be able to, like, let's even say that and I don't know this by any means, but let's just say, hypothetically, that Daryl Dixon is going to have 4 seasons, okay? Even if they introduced a new love interest sometime in season 3, do we really think that in a season and a half, they are going to be able to create a really powerful romantic connection between him and someone else, such that the entire fandom would get behind it? I'm sure some people would. You know, some people were behind Isabel and some people were behind Connie and all of that. But I don't know, for them to be going on this journey and just to have him find some random person that he falls for, it just doesn't seem like enough to me. It's different if it's Beth, because they already established that connection and now they're just coming back together, and that's completely different, and that will bring people back to the show who probably haven't watched it for several years, you know, since Beth left or since, you know, Negan killed Glenn or whatever, to see what happens. And so to me, I mean, until I see that it's something else, that's just a really powerful, compelling thing right there that that I think that there's no way they could bring on someone new and establish a really, really deep connection that everybody would get behind. But again, we know that before the end of the series, whenever that is, before the end of the spin-off series, I mean, he has to find a happy ending. So no, we don't have any hardcore evidence that she's going to return in season 3, but we do have hardcore evidence that there will be a happy ending. We have all of the built-up evidence and symbolism that TD has found about it over the years. You know, the weirdness that Emily has been participating in, things like that. So depending on how you define hardcore evidence, I don't know if that really answers your question or not, but certainly we don't know for sure. We're just hoping. And because we don't know how many seasons this is going to go for, that's also hard to tell. I would hope that it would be this season and that maybe it'll even go another season or 2, you know, with her on it, but there's no way to know exactly what they're planning yet. So, all right, guys, I'm going to stop there for today, but I'll get another video out with more asks in 2 or 3 days. Thank you so much for sending those in. Please continue to do so, and I'll talk to you soon.